We are The Meltdown here with yet another Laurel's List, as we're very excited to be able to welcome Laurel Lunsford back into the studio to provide to us some passion on a topic that she's very much aware of. She's lived this life. This is her genuine true self, and that is being an M. Night Shyamalan fan.
Yes, and having the shirt on to prove it.
Got the shirt on. You have been through the ups. You've been through the downs. Maybe you don't consider there to be any downs. I don't know how you personally view the entire filmography.
I mean, everyone's got a few downs.
Okay,
like,
just making sure we're on the same page there. But I have tasked you with coming up with your 5 favorite M. Night movies.
Yes.
Now, that means you're saying no to a lot of them because only 5 are going to make the cut. So I'd like to start off. I'm going to do something a little bit tricky here. What would be number 6 on Laurel's list if you were to pick something that did not make the list? What would be number 6?
Probably say Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, okay. Yeah. I do want to point out to everyone who's watching that if you have not yet seen Trap, we will not be getting into any spoilers of Trap because I have not yet seen Trap, but we will get into, if it makes the list, some of those things that are themes that Laurel took away from the movie, if it happens to make the top 5. I don't know because I don't know the list. Let's start off with number 5 with your favorite M. Night movies.
Okay, number 5, I'm going to say The Visit.
Okay.
Because John actually had this movie on last night, and I forgot how kind of scary it was. Like it's a pretty scary movie, like with in his field of things. But I think this is the movie that got him back on track. I can remember when they weren't even showing that he did the film, like when it was getting screened. It was screened as a Blumhouse movie, which I think this is at the height of Blumhouse too, because that's when Blumhouse had Get Out, they had The Visit, they had The Purge, all those were, and right before they had the new Halloween come out too. So I think that was at the height of Blumhouse, but I think this was like reintroducing himself. He does not have a cameo in this movie, so I think he was kind of playing it light. And people love this movie. This movie has good reviews.
I was disappointed he wasn't in it.
Yeah, I was. That's one thing I wish. I wish that he had a cameo in it.
It is a very intense PG-13 movie. I found myself to be very annoyed by the son in this movie, who drives me insane throughout the course of it.
I think it's supposed to, though. Like, I think that's the whole. It's
I just hated every time he got scared, he yelled some random celebrity's name, and it's like,
a singer.
This is
remember?
really, it's. I gotta say, this is near the bottom for me when it comes to M. Night Shyamalan.
When it comes to annoying child performances, that one I remember being very high on my list of annoying child performances. Check out our Road to Perdition retro trailer reaction, by the way, if you want another one. But Trap is not yet been mentioned because we've got The Visit. I got Trap top of mind for some reason.
I'll say right now, Trap and I think Knock at the Cabin are 2 really good. Those would almost make it. I think those are 2 of the higher level ones, in my opinion. They're not my favorite just because they are newer, but I would say that those 2 are at the very top of, I think they're on the higher spectrum of his movies. Okay.
There's a lot of people, they judge movies now about whether or not it's the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. That's all they've got.
I think both are very good. I think Trap, Tim, you're really going to like it.
Okay.
And I highly, highly recommend it. So we'll watch our spoiler review after this.
Looking forward to that. Let's move on to number 4 on Laurel's list after going with The Visit, the 2015 PG-13 movie that sort of brought him back to the forefront.
I'm going with Split. I think Split is a really good movie. I think it saved probably one of his better twists for at the end when you realize that it is merged with the world of Unbreakable that he's kind of created. I guess that was a trilogy that and he had waited for years to do it. And I think that's something that's amazing about him as a director is that he has played the long game and stuck it out. And even when people were like, I don't think this guy has it, like no one's going to go see these movies, he stuck it out, and he was able to finish a trilogy that made a lot of money. I think Split is. I'm not crazy about
James McAvoy.
James McAvoy. I like a lot of movies that he's in. I know he's in Chapter 2. Of course, he's in X-Men. That's a big thing. But I thought he was really good in this movie.
Tyler, go ahead and say the James McAvoy title movie that's coming out in September again.
Speak No Evil.
Oh, gosh.
And it looks like he kind of is similar to how he was playing.
Well, all I can think is like the whole point of Split is he turns into the Beast at the end. But like he is so much thicker. He has this really thick neck and Speak No Evil. It's like he looks like the Beast in this movie, more so than an actual Split.
But that at the end when you see Bruce Willis sitting there, that's everyone in the theater. That was a big reaction. So that was a fun one.
It certainly was. It was sold one way. It really rewarded the audience in a whole different way. Yeah. So I'm right there with you. It was a very well marketed film for sure.
Yes, very good.
Number 3 on Laurel's list of best M. Night movies. You're getting closer and closer to number 1. What's number 3?
Number 3 is The Village. I think The Village would kill nowadays because I'm going to say another thing about him is very much, I think he's the closest to what we've gotten to Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock, of course, is like in a whole other like realm on his own. I think he's the closest person because I think when you say Alfred Hitchcock, most people think Psycho, The Birds, and probably North by Northwest. He did a bunch of other movies, and a lot of critics hated those movies. Like critics hated Vertigo. That was a big one that people love it now. They hate it back then. This, I think, is similar. The Village, I could see people doing this now. Like how we are in a society, could you not see people wanting to do something like this?
I'm hoping this is the way we are currently living, where pretty soon we'll end up stumbling upon modern society by accident. Like, what reality are we living
with
in?
This movie, and with The Happening, people love to talk about that. Is a movie about climate change that far-fetched to think about that would be a film nowadays? I mean, Don't Look Up was very much in the same realm of something that they were trying to do with that. So I think he was at
Twisters, yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of people wanted that from Twisters.
Yes, I think he was doing that 10 years ago, and look at it now. But I think Joaquin Phoenix is really good. I really like Judy Greer, who I think we know her from Halloween most likely.
The Village, and you can tell me if this was your perspective, but The Village was the first time I remember M. Night movies where people were like, I'm not going to watch it, just tell me the twist. The Village was like that first phase of, I'm not going to watch it, just tell me the twist.
And I don't think he wanted that. I
Correct.
think he was very much, and he has always been upfront with his movies. He said, I don't want this marketed as a horror movie because it's not a horror movie. He said, it's supposed to be it's like a very historical kind of romantic drama at its core. And they were like, no, like people want scary. That's what they know you from. So we're going to market it as scary. And I think
And there still is very much a twist in it, so it continues on with now it's like, well, what's the twist going to be?
I think one of the more clever cameos where, you can see it when after Bryce Dallas Howard goes to the, I guess it's a park ranger.
Yeah.
And when they open up and you can see him in the glass, I think that's a creative cameo from him.
Let's move on to number 2. After number 5, you have The Visit. Number 4, Split. Number 3, The Village. Number 2, I'm going to assume I haven't fallen into a trap myself to where you're actually going to pick Trap after saying that you wouldn't pick Trap. Is this reverse psychology? Is this the twist?
It's her own twist.
I'm going to say, you know Joaquin Phoenix as your favorite role as Joker. Mine is Signs. I love Signs. To me, holds up. Like, I even think the alien still looks creepy, but at that time, was there a bigger star than Mel Gibson? Like, Mel Gibson was like it for... I mean, now he's a little, but for a while there, like Mel Gibson was he was like Tom Cruise level, maybe even higher because he had the Oscars to like back it up. But then
as an actor and director and creative and producer and pusher, everything.
I mean, he was it. Like that was a big get, and then to have Joaquin Phoenix, who he has the family name, and that was one of my first like really actual roles seeing him, and I was like, he's like really talented. And who would have thought nowadays? I think Joaquin is probably more in demand than Mel Gibson is.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that's no debate.
I love the scene where he comes in and they got the tinfoil hats on, and I just think the overall heart of the movie is really good because I think a lot of people can relate to like losing faith, especially if you've gone through grief. I think it really goes through those motions very well where you don't believe anything, like you don't understand why something happens, and then for it to have like the happy ending at the end, of course, with the water. I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. I love Signs.
You know a lot about celebrity gossip and obviously M. Night. Have Joaquin and M. Night had a falling out of any sort, or they're still great friends?
Yeah, he was actually going to be in Split, and then like they couldn't work it out with Joker because he was filming that, and so he gave the role. But no, they have spoken very highly of each other. Like Joaquin says that he would love to work with him
when
again.
they reunite, is that going to be big for you?
I
and
think
like you're going to scream to
the
house?
Can you not see Joaquin Phoenix being in an M. Night Shyamalan movie now?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because I think that M. Night
He's still playing crazy roles. I mean, Joker still fits in M. Night Shyamalan.
I mean, what's Ari Aster? I think M. Night is like maybe a little bit better version of how Ari Aster is trying to be. So
let's move on now to number 1 on Laurel's list. And is it gonna be what everyone's favorite M. Night movie is?
It has to be I See Dead People. I mean, that was iconic. People still say that. Like that will pop up in pop culture all the time. And I think that was the first. I'm trying to think if there's been another movie. I remember going to see it. I went with my mom and my brother, and we saw it at the Summit. And my brother had been the one who really, I have an older brother, he really wanted to see it. I didn't know anything about the movie because I was probably in like 6th grade. You know, that was 99, I guess, probably like going into 6th grade. And I didn't know anything about it. And that was the one at the end, people were still sitting in their seats because they were just like shocked. And the way that he has framed it in the movie, and you go back and you watch it, it really is like you can't tell that, you know, when he's having conversations with his wife, you know, he's got it where like they're in a fight, like they're, you know, kind of doing like a separation. That is how someone would act. So you're not really put off by it. Then, I don't know, it just comes together at the end and it's revealed that he's been dead the whole time. I mean,
well, if we were going through an all-time greatest twist list, The Sixth Sense has to be.
I mean, when y'all saw it, were you shocked? Were you not surprised? Like, could you see that coming?
I didn't.
It's a very hard rewatch now, but the first time it very much worked and knocked it out of the park. But I cannot go back and rewatch that now.
I mean,
I feel like I got robbed because that one had already been spoiled for me.
Right.
Because
You did get robbed.
just because of my age, you know.
Yeah. But you know when they were saying at the
You already knew
end.
me? Sorry.
At the end, when he's like going through the flashbacks of everything, and then it does make sense, like, you know, his wife avoiding him, you know, when he goes to the doctor and like the doctor's not really paying attention to him, you're like, oh, it makes sense.
I'm going to give you a chance here to speak from the heart, like you do with all of your takes, but really primarily to this sort of insult of M. Night, right?
Right.
M. Night's movies are sort of looked at as if they age like milk, where once the twist is up, once you know the gimmick, you don't think about his film anymore and you just move on to something else and you consume something else. What is it about M. Night that you feel like his filmography is actually quite underappreciated and underrepresented maybe when it comes to longevity? Because a lot of people think he's a gimmicky director.
And I think that's fine. But, you know, you have to look back at look how many directors have bomb after bomb after bomb. Like, I mean, honestly, what's his name? Who's the guy who did Alien?
Ridley Scott?
Yes.
What is the last successful thing that people are like, I have got to see this? Like, what
Gladiator,
and,
you know,
and
obviously.
how long has that been? I mean,
it has been 24 years.
Because
but
he did
it's about
Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix and nobody cared.
I mean, you have him. I mean, I would even say, even though John loves him, like Danny, whatever, people, I thought like Blade Runner would be like
I thought you meant Danny from Grease. I'm like, what is the parallel here?
Danny
DeVito, what did he direct?
You know, Dune is for a very acquired taste, just like Blade Runner. I thought would be a huge hit because it has like my boy Ryan Gosling in it. It's got Harrison Ford.
So the argument I hear you making is, don't be living in a glass house throwing
like,
stones.
But
like
I'm
all
just
of
saying,
these.
what is it about him that's any different than these other people that have? But the thing is, his movies make money. That's just it. They open at #1. They bring in millions. Like, there's people clearly going to see it. I don't know why is it just him?
If I was giving a list of 5 best directors of all time when it comes to their marketing strategies, M. Night has to be on that list.
Oh, yeah.
However, I do wonder about some of the longevity of the actual films that he's great at capitalizing on moments.
Right.
But is he great at capitalizing on movies that will stand the test of time?
That's why, like, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense, Signs, I think those, The Village, I think those have, because there are movies now that are trying to do what The Village did. Yep. There are movies, I would even say, what's the movie that had Julia Roberts and all those people in it? Leave the World Behind. Is that
Oh, yeah.
I about yelled Aaron Brockovich for some reason.
That's why I yelled Ocean's 11 for some reason.
That very much took things from not only The Village, but like took things from The Happening. Like that was very much
I'm surprised
stuff.
you didn't put that on your list.
Oh,
I mean,
she's all about The Happening.
I don't mind that. Hey, you can look at The Happening, and there's some stuff that people have taken from that, though. Like I'm saying, nowadays having climate change as being a villain in a movie is not that far-fetched.
I do wish with this summer heat that we would get some of the happening wind happening because it's abrasively hot out there.
Here's why M. Night fell off. His first movie was a comedy. We're not going to count Wide Awake. But then The Sixth Sense is...
She's All That, though. Also underrated.
What I literally said in the break, because Tyler's like, oh, he did this. I was like, he also did She's All That. Laurel bring that up. Laurel's brought it up. So he starts off... His style of movie starts off with The Sixth Sense, which knocks it out of the park. Oscar movie. And it
much
goes...
like Jordan Peele.
It's almost everybody's favorite movie of his.
Yeah.
So he started as high as you could possibly get.
The next Spielberg.
Kind of what Jordan Peele is dealing with, because Get Out had such critical success, but nothing has quite lived up to that, because it was nominated for a ton of Oscars, and then Us wasn't, and Nope wasn't. Then Unbreakable, which is well received. Signs, which is well received. The Village, which I assume overall is well received. But then he had a 10-year span where all he did was Lady in the Water, The Happening, The Last Airbender, and After Earth, to which everybody sees his name tied to all that and says,
had a bad run.
garbage, because at least like Ridley Scott, okay, since Gladiator, then he did Black Hawk Down, then he did some stinkers, then he does American Gangster, then he does some stinkers, then he does Prometheus, then he does some stinkers, then he does The Martian. Like he's at least
his highs are high, his lows are low.
Every 3 or 4 years, there's still a pretty good high in there, even though he's definitely got some lows, to where M. Night just had a bad run. And I think he's back now, but like he had a bad run that everybody instantly got a really bad opinion of him.
But I think it's amazing that he's been able to turn it around, because I mean, there's actors that can't even turn it around. I mean, look at people like Pauly Shore or someone like that. They're on a run.
You know what M. Night did that was brilliant? He went from the internet being his biggest enemy, because that is like what spoils his movies. That is what ends up being his biggest adversary of everybody just wanting to know what's the detail compared to actually being a part of the cinematic experience. And I feel like he's used the internet now as a tool and as a weapon to market his films in a way where he's almost perfect for the internet age, because it's all about that viral moment. It's all about that, I don't mind being a story for 1 week, but just everybody come out and make me the story for 1 week.
And at least I'll say this about him and Jordan Peele. At least they're trying something different.
Right.
Like all we hear is the complaints about the superhero movies. I don't want to see more They're doing original stories. Like at least they're putting something original, and for people to be like, well, I don't like it. But here's the other thing. Yeah. If it were Ari Aster, if it were some A24 movie, would people watch those movies and say, oh my gosh, that was brilliant? Because I guarantee you that they would, because they do. What's the other director? Robert Eggers. People like Robert Eggers, Ari Aster, they'll watch Ty West. They'll watch it and be like, you know what? That's so, but they're seeing it because it's A24. It's these, cool, hip, filmmakers. If it was M. Night Shyamalan, then they'd be like, oh, I don't like it.
I do think if you attached an A24 before any M. Night Shyamalan movie, everybody go, ooh. What's this?
Look, he gambles on himself and he wins. And I think that should be respected, which is why the business side of things, just absolute masterclass in what he's able to do. And he doesn't get enough respect for it. One last quick question, and because you're an M. Night aficionado and I don't know this answer. Did he shadow direct Devil?
I think he did.
Because I really like Devil.
I like Devil too. That's another one. I mentioned that to you last night.
Tyler and John, their life leaves their eyes when we connect on a film.
Well, we were talking about this list after we saw Trap last night, and it's like, is it ultimately going to fall on your list or not? And she started naming movies, and she threw out Devil, and it's like, I'm not going to count that because she doesn't count After Earth, because it's like, After Earth was taken away from him, and it's like
After Earth, his name was all over it.
See, like you could say, oh, that's a Will Smith thing. That's a Scientology thing. Whatever you want to do, it's still his movie at the end of the day. He
has said that he does not count that. So I'm...
Okay, well, I want to
still took the check.
I want to give a little love to Devil. I don't know his exact role behind it. I think he shadow directed it. But
I know he wrote it and produced it.
If he had put his name on as being director of that movie, it would probably be my favorite M. Night movie. I really like Devil.
It's a good one.
I will leave it at that. Laurel, thank you so much for being here and for answering to all the critics, because you need an opportunity to be able to say that side of the story too. Because
that's right.
People love to just jump on.
Creatives, come on.
Absolutely.
And wrote a superhero movie from scratch too. Let's not talk about the superhero stuff. Yep. He created, didn't quite land the plane with it, but had 2 of 3 pretty good superhero movies that he crafted it all on his own.
Right, with people not even knowing that those 2 had been connective pieces to lead to where it led to. So there we go. To pick up all the pieces of your bankroll, maybe it is not doing too well, you can visit our title sponsor and repatch that up here as football season approaches with a special promo code, John.
Go to mybookie.ag. Use that promo code next round. You always see in the corner right there. Get a first deposit bonus on us as football season approaches. Play in the sportsbook, play in the casino, play in the live casino, but anything, anytime, anywhere.
What are your 5 favorite M. Night movies? Number 5, The Visit. Number 4, Split. Number 3, The Village. Number 2, Signs. Number 1, The Sixth Sense. That is Laurel's list. What is yours? We'd love to hear it. I know Luntz's list differs wildly. We'd love to know how much your list coincides with what Laurel threw out there. You did.
It may not differ wildly.
May not differ wildly.
Did you like Lady in the Water?
It's not his worst movie.
I think it is.
The Happening is worse?
After Earth exists.
Oh, that's all right. I just don't count that.
Anyway, there's been some stinkers. That's going to do it for us here. Make sure you're subscribed to The Meltdown for more of Laurel's list.